What's up, guys? It's Nate. We are back on Zero to Hero, continuing with our lean canvas model series, and this time we are jumping right into channels. All right, so what is a channel in this context?
Like TV?
No, Mike.
Cartoon Network.
No, you goofy guy.
Sorry.
Not this time.
You goofy expletive, you.
When we were talking about channels today, we were talking about basically how you're going to reach your customers. And there are so many different ways that can be. It can mean free channels, it can be paid channels. There are just so many different ways that you can reach your people. So how are we going to reach our people with our business? Let's hop right into that, guys. Chris.
Hey.
What's up?
What's up?
How do you reach people?
Usually with a 10-foot stick. Just kidding. Thank you. I'm here all night. I'll do signatures. Basically, there's a lot of ways, but what Becaffeinated has found its footing in is, so we have this marketing manager. His name's Nate. He does a great job. But yeah, so we found a lot of synergy with Instagram from the get-go. We also have a Facebook, which doesn't do quite as well, but it's just not as quite synergistic with our demographic. But we actually just hit 7,000 followers on our Instagram. Yeah. By the time this comes out, maybe we'll almost be at 8,000. Who knows? But yeah, so that's kind of our free. It's not free for me, but it's, I pay Nate to do it. But that's the free channel is social media. We have a TikTok where we have an intern named Madeline, who's also a barista that just started doing a lot of TikTok content for us. We tried Twitter for like a day and we were like, no, this isn't us.
Not the plan.
Not the one. And then actually LinkedIn is a really good one too. Nate does a lot of kind of what we talked about in a previous episode, like guerrilla polls. And I've done random stuff on LinkedIn just to, when we were like, do we need to raise our prices? I did a poll and I was like, hey, why do you go to a coffee shop? And low prices was not one of the answers. No one voted for that. I was like, oh, that's really good to know. As long as I can deliver in the other three, they don't worry about that. But you have to deliver in the other three. So that social media is huge. And then I would say our other biggest one for Becaffeinated is word of mouth. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Word of mouth is huge for us, which is the hardest one to make happen, but also the most fun.
Yeah. As the guy who, like Chris said, is running a lot of that stuff, I really want to talk about the fact of like nowadays there's so much buzz about social media, and social media is awesome. It's definitely like the most like cheapest way to reach the most people. So from that metric, it is the best way, and you can build giant communities like we have very quickly with it. But like Chris said, word of mouth is not dead. Word of mouth is still the most reliable way to get customers in your door because people really trust what they hear others say. And when it comes to actually like feeding into those channels like word of mouth, it doesn't just mean going out and talking to people in like your standard like, customers that come into my door. It can mean getting really creative. I am a big fan of guerrilla marketing. If you don't know what guerrilla marketing is, it basically is going outside of the norms and creating really radical new campaigns. So a big thing that I do at Becaffeinated, I haven't got to admit because my bike's broken right now, but I actually have an electric bike, and I will go around the city of Chattanooga just giving out free samples of coffee, hot chocolate, stranger drinks that we have going on, stuff like that. And that sounds ridiculous when you think about it.
It is.
Yeah.
It's unreasonable.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's
it is
remarkable.
Some dude
meaning
writes
people
up
will
to you.
remark about it.
Exactly. Yeah.
You can thank Seth Godin for that one.
This guy's just coming up to you on like an electric bike with like a big thing of coffee in his hand, just like, here,
want
have
some
a drink.
coffee.
Yeah, it sketches people out sometimes. Yeah. But the point is, though, the people who do that with me, they're always like, what? Why are you doing this? And I'm like, have you not heard of Becaffeinated? And suddenly I get the notifications. Boom, they just followed us on Instagram. I see them the next day at one of our shops. Or I see them posting on our social media. We've gone, I've heard it talked about on like the radio. We didn't pay the radio to talk about us. I'm just listening to the radio while I'm doing a blood donation.
New Today did an article on it.
Yeah, New Today does an article on it. We didn't tell them to do that at all. They just did that. They just saw me and they're like, what's that about?
What the crap?
Yeah, and that's free promotion. I mean, relatively free promotion because like it still is a part of my job, but that's like promotion that we didn't have to think about, we didn't have to work on, and all it took was just doing something radical to reach our customers in a new way.
Yeah. I love all the things that have been said so far. I agree with them. And I think, so bringing this to a different perspective. So like, what works for one business isn't going to work for every single other business. And there's a lot that goes into that. Different demographics, different psychographics. You're different as a person.
Different cities.
Regions
in the city.
So, for example, for Be Caffeinated, Instagram popped off like crazy, which is amazing. But it's more of like a mass market type brand. Like a lot of people are used to the idea of drinking coffee, enjoying it every day. It's one of those like icebreaker things that if you say, "Oh, I just love my morning coffee," it's like you're gonna have half a room of people that are gonna be instantly connected to you and say, yes, I'm that kind of person too. And so that's one of those things of knowing where you fit into the market and you can lean into where the strengths are. But for instance, if you are a really obscure practitioner of some sort of type of yoga that no one's ever heard about, then Instagram as a mass market thing might not immediately pop off in the same way. So depending on what your goals are for where you're at, you can try out a bunch of channels, but really it's just a matter of try a bunch of them out, see what works, and then at the beginning, you probably don't have enough resources and time to do them all really well. So it's a matter of just like almost like hot and cold, asking all the channels like hot or cold on Facebook, Instagram, in-person events, networking events, Reddit or Facebook groups. And then you just kind of keep seeing hot or cold, and you follow wherever it's hot. And then once you find a reliable source, use that as your pillar channel and then just go crazy on that until you've squeezed as much juice out. And so there's like a little period of time where I go against like the advice we talked about with revenue streams of doing everything. And so like once you found your one that works really, really well, then you can go back into that mode of experimenting and trying out other things. So going back in time, years and years ago, when I was a guitar and voice teacher, my most reliable methods, my most reliable channels, I was not posting a lot consistently on Facebook or Instagram or anything else. But if I played a show in town, I almost always got new students. If I went and played at a church, I almost always got new students. If my other most reliable one was just in person. So I guess you could technically call this one Guerrilla Ones or whatever, but I would just literally walk around with my guitar, either strapped to my back or literally walking around playing it. And people would just be like, "Oh my gosh, you're really good." And then they would ask me if I taught, and then I said yes. And so that was my most reliable methods. And I think the other one that I tried occasionally, which whenever I needed it, it was there for me, was at the time Facebook ads were really insane. So I would just do a Facebook ad of me playing insane guitar while talking and saying, "If you want to learn, first lesson's free. All right, you can sign up below." And it was really simple, but those are like the most reliable methods for me. So I would just really say, like, depending on your industry and your business, start really broad, see what works, zero in as much as possible, and then cut off all those. So at the beginning, they tried Twitter and Be Caffeinated. It's like, it didn't work, chop it off. So it's really like do the quick experiments and narrow it down as quick as possible, and then just squeeze the heck out of whatever works.
So question.
Yeah.
So if you've really developed your customer segments, can you kind of hack your way through? And if you already know who you're trying to reach, kind of work backwards and say, okay, where are those people?
Yeah. Okay. That's good. I'm glad you asked that. You're teeing that up for me because I always love talking about this. One of my favorite ways of getting started on finding channels is to just look at what competitors are doing. The closer aligned your competitors are, the more likely their people are exact fits for you. And most of the time, especially, you can just go find them. They're there and available, like really popular Instagram pages or Facebook groups or really in-person networking groups. And a lot of times they can't service all the people at once that even are aware of them. And so you may well be the person that can help them too, which is really cool. And that's a freaking amazing way. So like literally just going on to their pages and seeing what are they posting, what kind of hashtags are they using, and then even like liking and commenting with their stuff so that you're starting to engage with their people as well, which is really cool. And that's just kind of a surprisingly easy way to get a head start on knowing where those people are. Yeah.
And also, if you know that your main customer segment is going to be, women ages 23 to 42, like you're going to go to Instagram first. If you know that it's, old guys, you're going to go to Facebook or
Hardee's
or like, I don't know, MySpace. I don't know what old guys can
I'm half joking, but like at the Hardee's in Hickson, which for you online, Hickson is really close to Chattanooga, a little suburb over there. And the Hardee's at Hickson is like an older guy just swimming hole. Like if I had some service that really was helping them, it was like, we're going to do exercise to stay fit and limber through your 60s and 70s. I would go to Hardee's every single day and I would be walking away with customers.
You know what else is an old man swimming hole? The YMCA. Jasmine and I have started going to actually the Hickson YMCA. I guess it's just Hickson.
Just go to Hickson.
But when we get there, we usually go around 6:30 when we go, which is probably part of it. But we bring down the age demographic by about 40 years.
Yeah.
And then, just starting there. And then if for some reason it's not responding, then going and branching out into other ones and seeing if those work. But, what you got, Nate?
I was going to say another big thing is once you have found your channel, being able to create appropriate content or just use your channel appropriately. So if like with Becaffeinated, we realized like our main source of reaching our people is Instagram. That meant we put way more of our time into creating reels. And I spend way more time nowadays on stories and things like that, or on lives, than I do on making feed posts or on making like regular static posts, because you have to understand what your channel wants. And especially with social media, they all are operating on different algorithms. They're all operating on all these different systems that are constantly changing. So you're going to want to stay up to date on those and be able to go, okay, I've made a piece of content, but where does this content actually need to go? What channel is it going to do it the best in?
It's kind of like literally on your TV channel, like Survivor, if it was on, like Home and Garden channel, that would be weird, right?
Yeah.
Or if like Ed and Eddie was on, the Home and Garden channel. That'd be weird.
Pretty much anything on the Home and Garden channel.
If it's not about a home and garden, it's weird.
Yeah.
So so here's some types of marketing channels just for us to think about, and then we'll break into our final tips. My final tip today is going to be a Becaffeinated challenge. And so when this episode comes out, we'll see if it worked.
Oh,
Y'all into that? Basically, it'll be Nate's job.
Awesome.
All right. So types of marketing channels: email marketing, social media marketing, social media itself, distribution. I don't really know what distribution means. I guess just like different like flyers and stuff. Influencer marketing, search engine optimization, direct selling, email, online advertising, and network marketing. Those are just some ideas to think of. Some are paid, some are free. But yeah. So final tips.
Final tips.
So I want to hop on the fact that like the biggest thing that's going to determine if you're using your channels appropriately is effort. Once you find them, you really need to try to understand how to utilize them appropriately. And that can be scary. We've had people we've talked to in the past who are like, I realize that my main demographic is on Instagram, but I don't like making reels. Or I know that every time I go to a networking event, I leave with 3 clients, but I just feel really nervous. That's unfortunate.
Put a shot of vodka for
exactly. Yeah. But if that's where your people are, that's what your business has basically been designed to do. You need to find ways to get into there. And
here's a hack for the networking one specifically. Hire someone that likes to talk to people.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I know that sounds really weird, but it's not hard to find a college student or anyone that just wants to work 5 or 10 hours a week, and you can literally pay them. Well, yeah, but literally pay them. You just give them your script and say, this is what I want you to tell people. These are the types of customers I want. Just pay them like $10 or $15 an hour. I mean, that's what, $150 a week if they work 10 hours, which is a lot of time that they could like do, network marketing. Just get them to go to Nooga Networking, the chamber events, anything like that. Young Professionals Chattanooga, Chattanoobies, and just like depending on your business or industry, just get them to go talk to people if you don't like that. Or if you're not good at Instagram, just work with, there's a Future Ready Institute in Chattanooga of high school students that are training to become social media managers. They have an internship program you can use. UTC has interns. There's a ton of people that graduate with marketing degrees, and some of them are working as baristas and maybe don't want to. You could split their time between that and something else. You could bring them on as half marketers, half whatever your thing is, which is what I did with Nate and Dylan. There's a lot of creative options and a lot of people that, if you give them the chance, they'll more than make up for what you're paying them. And if you think about the actual cost of, 5 or 10 hours at a actually good wage, then it's actually not as expensive as you would think. It's just that belief breaking that is hard sometimes. So.
Yeah. So my tip kind of goes along with Nate's in that, the effort is one of the biggest hurdles. And so there's a piece of advice I heard from Alex Hormozy, which if you're not familiar with him, he's everywhere and he does some really cool business advice. But one of them he talks about is the rule of 100. So at the beginning of your marketing journey through different channels, whether that's paid ads or individual outreach on DMs or Instagram posts or whatever it is, at the beginning, you're not going to be really that good. So though you're doing it, you're not able to know how effective that is. And so the only way you're going to get better is through a lot of volume and trying every single time you do something to get a little bit better. So by doing a lot of it, you're going to start to see some results. So if you're not that great, you might do 100 DM reach outs to people and only 3 people get back to you because just whatever the way you're talking to people is just a little weird or off-putting online. And so you learn, this worked when I tried something different. Let me keep doing that next time. And so in your next batch of 100, maybe 6 people get back to you. And so each time you get better and better, you get more reward for what you're doing. And then you don't have to spend as much time to get as much return on that investment. And so ultimately that idea of be prepared to do a lot more than you think you're going to need. Instead of one post and imagining it's going to bring you all the customers in the world, what if you did 100 posts? And that's when you actually got what you thought you would get from that one. And so really to that level, whether you're doing flyers or paid ads or pieces of content or individual reach outs, be prepared to do a lot more than you expect you're going to need, and then learn from those efforts, kind of going a little preview from when we get into key metrics and key performance indicators. Just use that batch of work that you did to be able to measure how much output did I get from it? How many people did I reach out to versus how many people actually signed up for whatever or paid for whatever thing. Hopefully that makes sense. If not, let me know in the comments and then I'll word it better.
I find it fascinating and Gary Vaynerchuk really poops on people like this, but the concept of people wanting incredible results without putting forth incredible effort. It's just it's a weird thing that there's a lot of people want crazy, awesome results, but after 5 DMs, we're I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
That's not realistic. Come on, guys. Yeah. If it was that easy, then everyone would do it.
Okay. I got one last tip.
One last final tip.
Oh, God. For any of you out there that do video editing and you save your files as video 7 final version, and then you do final version number 2, you know the pain I'm feeling. The final tip I would say is not just the effort itself, but this is a little bit more woo-woo mindset kind of stuff, but learning to realize whatever channel works for you and knowing you're going to have to work really hard at it. I think the most important tip I've found is doing whatever you can to overcome whatever internal bad feelings you have about doing that action. Like the identity of saying, I'm not the kind of person that does reach outs. I'm not the kind of person that posts this much on Instagram. And really trying to learn how to love doing that action. And so most people fight against that and they say, I just don't like doing that, so I won't do it. But if you can really use it as almost like a spiritual mental practice to say every single time I sit down to do more reach outs or make a post, can I enjoy it a little bit more than I did last time? Can you learn to love writing copy? Can you learn to love taking the photo? Can you learn to love doing the research on the hashtags instead of dreading every single piece of it? Because that's like the ultimate hack. If you can learn to love doing the thing that you hate, but that's important for your business, you're going to be a lot happier. You're going to get a lot more results. And the quicker you're going to become really amazing at it, which then just makes it even better. So
I've got 2 final tips, but I forgot the first one.
I stole it from you.
You did. No, you didn't. What was the beginning of what you just said? I need to start writing stuff.
Once upon a time, I don't know.
Yeah, so I'm going to challenge Be Caffeinated, aka Nate and our baristas.
Woo.
So, word of mouth is great, and it's very important. What is digital word of mouth if not Google reviews? So, if a new place opens and you're like, "Hey Nate, have you heard of, Bob Smith's barbecue joint that just opened down the road?" Either he says no or yes. And if he says yes, he says, "I want to try it," or "I did try it." And if he says he did try it, you're like, "Oh, how was it?" And either says, "It was great. Here's what I liked about it," or "It wasn't my favorite." If he says it wasn't my favorite, you're probably not going to go there for a while, either until someone says they enjoyed it and you have a reason to go, or if just out of convenience or curiosity, you decide to go. If he says, "I absolutely loved it, here was my experience," you're probably going to go in the next week or two. So that's just how society works. That's how people work. So, and I would argue that Google reviews are very similar to that, and are how, my wife and I use them to kind of figure out, especially if in a new city or a new thing, if we want to do it. So my challenge for you and our baristas. So right now, our Red Bank location has 204 reviews. Our North Shore location has 139. Mm-hmm. Our Chat State location only has 2, but it's a little weird, so we won't worry about that one. And then our newest one in Highland Park by the zoo has 28 reviews. So my goal or my challenge is how many reviews can we get by the time this episode airs?
When's this episode airing?
Today is December 12th of 2022. And this probably won't come out until the new year.
Yeah.
So at least 2023. So you have at least like 3 weeks. So I have some ideas. Okay. So here's my main idea. Are you ready?
Yeah. So
part of our branding is working with local businesses, helping local businesses, nonprofits. We're doing a giveaway right now. We reached 7K, and we didn't feel right doing a giveaway if we didn't include a bunch of local businesses as well, that we could try and get them a bunch of new followers. And it's the season to give, right? So what if we develop and hand out a little card that goes inside the sleeve of a coffee cup that's got a QR code on it, and just like, "Merry Christmas. Hope it's a great one. If you feel like giving to your, this local business doesn't cost you anything, here's how to leave a Google review."
That's good.
Really simple. It's a call to action. It's an easy thing for our baristas to do. And maybe on the back of it, it's like $1 off or some sort of discount or something, just as a, even if you don't do it, we still appreciate you, and here's a gift for you.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah, I can make that today.
All right, so we're going to do that. And then when this airs, I challenge you to go onto Google and look up Be Caffeinated. We have 3 that we're going to challenge. So again, the Red Bank Be Caffeinated had 204. North Shore had, I think, 139, and our Highland Park one, which is 1263 East 3rd Street, had 28 reviews. So we'll see where we're at. Comment below if this is a YouTube video, which it will be, and what it is, and how you're going to do that with your business. But yeah, that's my final tip. I don't remember what my other one was going to be, but that's all right.
Okay, that's the only one we needed. It was beautiful.
All right. Thanks for joining us on today's Zero to Hero Lean Canvas edition with channels.
Channels.
Ooh. Time to turn off the channel.
Beep, beep.
Bop.